Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for showing up tonight. My name is Al LeGros. I'm the chair of the Comprehensive Plan Task Force, and what you see before you, these astute people from the town of Harpswell, constitutes the Comprehensive Plan Task Force. I'd like to go and start with my left with this gentleman. I would say the gentleman with the ball cap, but there are two of them there, so I'll go with the guy with the blue shirt.
Ben Gilly.
Heather Allen.
Dave Brown. Ray Hurst. Bill Taylor.
Okay, thank you very much. The purpose of this meeting is to explain to you some of the changes that we've made, which we think will make a comprehensive plan a document that's more acceptable to a greater majority of the town than the document that we brought forward in March. If you recall, the March town meeting was postponed because there was so much interest in the items that came forward that we exceeded the fire limits for the building. Two of the three items that were brought forward, the Mitchell Field tear down of the administrative building, as well as the central fire station, have already been voted on by the community, and so those are by the boards. The one remaining issue is the master plan, comprehensive plan master plan. And that comes before the town in a secret ballot as part of the November 4th election. And so it'll be interesting to see. I'm hopeful that, again, this will pass and that the town can move forward with the recommendations that are made in the plan and make some progress in the next 10 or 15 years toward the goals that have been established. I want to start by saying something that I've said in two previous meetings. We've had meetings in Cunny's Harbor on the 24th of June. We had a meeting with the non-resident taxpayers on the 7th of July and met with Orza Bailey Island residents on the 8th of July. And this is the third, if you will, fourth meeting involving town residents in the last month or so. And in each one of those presentations, I've started by saying that this has been a multi-year effort. It's been something that we've wrestled with for close to 4 years to try to get everybody's input, to make people feel as though they have a stake in what we're trying to do, and to try to resolve any kind of conflicts that folks might have to the best of our ability. The other point I want to make up front is that this plan, although there's been a lot of debate and dialogue on just a couple of the issues, this plan has 13 different topics that have been addressed. And for those that haven't picked up a flyer in the back there, I'm not going to read through all the 14 issues, but that's what makes it a comprehensive plan, folks. We've covered the waterfront, literally. Everything from transportation to access to the water, to water quality, to the recreation and facilities that the town offers, to the fiscal capacity that the town has to move forward in the future, and several other items. So it is a comprehensive plan, and as such, I would just advise people or encourage people not to necessarily reject it if there are issues with one particular area of the plan. It's a lot more than just one particular issue. And I know that we're not going to get unanimity on everything. It's impossible, probably. But hopefully people will look at it and say, you know, that's a pretty good effort and something that we can move forward with. Our goal is to complete all of our edits by the end of the public hearing, which will be held on the 16th of August in the school at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be the last opportunity, if you will, for the town and the public to comment on what we put together. So between now and the 16th of August, we'll finalize the edits that we're going to make. We'll submit those edits. We'll have the revised plan published and distributed so it's available on the town website. It's going to be available in the public libraries here in town, and it's going to be available at the town office as well. So, again, it's a tight but realistic schedule, in my opinion. The greatest debate that we've had has been relative to housing and future land use. When we started this plan, many people came forward and said, we have a housing problem here in this town. There are a lot of people that can't afford to live here, who want to live here. What can we do about it? And the select board put together an affordable housing working group close to 2 years now or more ago. And that's morphed into a standing committee, a housing committee that is operating right now to look into those issues. And they're tough issues for this town because in addition to having a desire and a need for more affordable or attainable housing here in town, there are other bedrock values, if you will, that the town has expressed that have to be accommodated. The rural feel of the town, access to the water, the availability of potable water is a major issue, and it's addressed in the comprehensive plan as well. Environment, preserving the scenic views, and so on, which on the surface seem incompatible, if you will, with building more housing in the town. But the Affordable Housing Working Group, as well as the Housing Committee, has come up with a number of different strategies that will help this town move forward in the housing area. It's not going to make a quantum leap because this is not a big community and our developable space and what we have to offer is just not a whole lot, but progress can be made in a way that I think can fit into and be compatible with a lot of these other values that we've articulated. So, why do we have a plan in the first place? Again, this has taken almost 4 years. I mean, why the effort? Why should the town put in all this time and effort to have a plan? Well, hopefully people realize and understand that towns that have comprehensive plans that are certified by the state have access to a considerable amount of money. Last time I checked, it was $80 million that would be available to conduct a variety of different projects, everything from development, block development, to water conservation and infrastructure improvements. And those that remember the January 2024 storm can certainly appreciate the fact that the town could certainly use better infrastructure in terms of roads, hardening of the wharfs and piers and so on in the town. So the money that's available out there can help this town, but it's only going to be accessible if the town has an approved comprehensive plan. That's number one. Number two, hopefully by establishing a comprehensive plan, we have a unified vision that the town can get behind. And there's a copy of the vision that I put up here on the easel, and there are copies that have been available here in the back. But let me just quickly read the vision statement, because I think it's important. It's kind of been a central focus of what we've worked on for the last almost 4 years. In Harpswell, we cherish our rural roots, our flourishing fishing community, and the remarkable natural resources that surround us. We are committed to being a community that is a welcoming place to raise children and enjoy life as an older adult, where businesses can thrive and everybody has access to our vibrant waterfront. Now that's an aspirational statement, to say the least, but it encompasses a lot of the values that have been presented to us as being important to the town. And so, again, I would encourage you to take a look at that, and hopefully it will help you appreciate why we've put what we've done, what we've put, if you will, into the comprehensive plans. The next thing I'd like to say is that in addition to housing and future land use, and the first meetings that we've held here since March, a lot of discussion has focused around water. You know, why doesn't the town have a better handle on the water that's available that we can draw on and so on? The last water study that was done, I think, Mary Ann, was 2011 or 2008. And one of the things that we recommended in the comprehensive plan is to obviously update that water study. It's important for us to know where we sit right now. And because that's been a focus in the meetings that we've held in the last few weeks, I've asked Mary Ann, who's chair of the Conservation Commission, to say a few words about water in the town of Harpswell, and there's a flyer back there that will embellish hopefully what she says. Go ahead.
Good evening. It's interesting because I serve on this committee, but I'm also on the Conservation Commission. And we recall some of the first meetings that we had with the public just getting input. Water was one of the three things that got up then, and that was, what, 4 years ago now?
Almost.
Yeah. And so Conservation began to think about, why don't we start to see, let's us start working on this, basically. So we began studying this, we began reviewing the studies that had been done, and listening to the questions that would come out. As a result, we started last year, and we had the state geologists come down and talk to us about what it means to live on fractured bedrock and get your water supply from that. And I tried to cover in this little booklet, or pamphlet, some of the information that she gave us. What it means to live on fractured bedrock. We don't have the aquifer that most people living in other parts of the country think of as aquifer. We get our rock, we get our water, trickles sideways through the rock, basically, through the fractures. So your well pipe's going down this way, it's getting the water and filling from the side. So all that has to happen is one or two fractures has to close up for a reason, and that affects your water supply. What all this means is, it's also very hard to know where you're going to have good water, which everybody knows, and where you're not. So what we did with the help of the Geological Survey, we had her come and talk about this. And then we went from there, and we said, well, if we don't know where it is, we then started to check and see, well, how much water do we get? How much precipitation do we get per year? How many gallons is that? And that's kind of all in here. It's a great number. We get about a trillion. I can't find it here right now. But it's a great amount of money of water that we get from precipitation. A lot of it, 40 to 60%. 80% is lost to just evaporation and runoff. But yet, it still leaves approximately 2 trillion gallons a year left in the town for use. So we know now, we realize, we know that we don't know exactly where the water is. So it becomes very difficult to figure where is a good spot and a bad spot. We know that we should have enough water. We live on an island. Think of Bermuda, they live on an island too, and they manage to have a water supply. So what we're really getting to the point is that we have surplus water. We just don't know where it is. And currently, we're probably could do a better job of keeping the water on our own property for it to soak in and replenish your own well. So what we're really saying is if you're worried about the well water supply, we don't know where it is in town. The best way to protect yourself is to make sure that you do things to keep the water and precipitation on your property when it rains. That means keeping trees and vegetation, capturing water. I've learned that a few people in town have cisterns. There was a woman in Cundy's Harbor who said that that's all she has is a cistern, and she treats it. So there are really interesting ways that we can think about making sure that we have water for ourselves, and some of those are some of the ways, as well as conservation. So this basically fleshes this out a little bit, but we wanted to bring this forward because this seems to be the question when we talk about the comprehensive plan, our water supply, as well as building in town. What we have here, the data that we pulled together. We're also thinking about, it would be nice to know where some of the wells are in town. The state records are not that accurate. We're thinking about a program that we might be able to solicit that information from willing people. If you happen to live in a property that has more than one well and one of them hasn't been pumped in 2 years, the state is looking to put in some monitoring wells, or to put a monitor on it, and they would be happy to walk you through that. Also, I don't know if any of you have had a problem with saltwater intrusion. Just remember, the closer you get to the shore where you put your well, the more you open yourself up to saltwater intrusion. Again, the state is looking for information from anybody who has had that problem. And as I said, in here, pick one of these up. There's information on how to get in touch with the state. So we've had 3 programs where we talked about fractured bedrock, water conservation tips in the power plants. We have a new program coming up in the fall that's going to be connecting plants to erosion control. So hope you look for that. And I just know that there's people here who were at the last meeting in Orr's Island, and there seemed to be a real concentration at that meeting about worrying about water supply, your drinking water supply. We've been in touch with the Orr's Island Library, and we're going to set up another one of their Thursday night programs to give more information and talk just on water, and that'll be coming in the early fall. So I just thought it would be good tonight to talk proactively about this, because it always seems to come up as one of the questions at these meetings. And if you have any further questions, the Conservation Commission, we have a couple of water witches here tonight, and just contact us and we'd be happy to help you answer them. Thank you.
Anyone on the task force want to follow up with that? Okay, thank you very much, Mary Ann. Again, we added this to the agenda tonight because the first meetings that we had, there was a lot of discussion about potable water and so on. And I would mention that the comprehensive plan does address water very comprehensively and very strongly in the plan, not only in terms of potable water, but also the quality of the water that surrounds Harpswell, and the importance of maintaining water quality of the oceans, not only because of the commercial fishing, but also recreation and tourism. All that stuff is there, and I think we've addressed it in a fashion that people will be satisfied with. Okay, getting back to the major changes that we made in this plan since March. we've eliminated 2 goals from the plan that we brought forward in March. One was in the housing section of the plan, and the second was in the land use section. And let me kind of quickly go through those 2 major changes, starting with the one in the housing section. The goal that we eliminated, or that we propose eliminating, states as a goal, limit the use of new attainable housing or the conversion of existing year-round housing into seasonal or short-term rental units. So when you look at that, it says, oh, that sounds reasonable. If you want to increase housing in the town, let's try to clamp down on short-term rentals and focus on longer-term rentals and keeping housing available to rent and so on. What we didn't have a full appreciation of at the time was the fact that a lot of people in this town make a living, or at least supplement their income on short-term rentals. It affects tourism, and it employs a number of people in the town who take care of the short-term rentals. And so essentially we were trying to solve one problem, a housing problem, while potentially creating another problem or putting an excess burden on a portion of the town that we didn't think was necessary. So we took that out. We felt that doing that did not impact the main message of the comprehensive plan in terms of housing and what the Affordable Housing Working Group and the Housing Committee was advancing as potential ways that this town can solve the housing problem, at least chip away at the housing problem in the town. So that's change number 1. The second change was in the land use section, and the goal stated that we wanted to try to expand the opportunities for attainable housing. On the surface, that sounds great. That's kind of fits the one of the goals that we really want to try to do. But when we look at it, and in consultation with the Housing Committee and so on, we felt that it was kind of redundant with other parts of the plan and didn't need to be emphasized at this particular point, because we felt that we didn't want to make this plan sound like we were overemphasizing housing above all other things. So we took that out. And we think by doing that, it did really impact what we were trying to say. The other changes that we made were really what I would call editorial changes. We've gone through the plan and made the plan less prescriptive, if you will, and more suggestive, making recommendations. There were certain areas of the plan that were that seemed like we were prescribing a definite solution and so on. So we were careful to modify that, to make it, to generalize it a bit more and to make it more palatable to the majority of people. So those are the 3 things that we've attacked over the last several months. I don't know, does anybody want to add to that, anything at this point? Okay. Let me go over quickly the schedule that we see going forward. After this meeting, which is it's the 3rd meeting that we've had geographically in the town since June 24th. That doesn't count the non-taxpayer, non-resident taxpayers, I should say. That's another meeting, separate. The next meeting that comes forward is August 16th, which is the public hearing for this plan. We've had 2 previous public hearings. This plan has never really been voted on because of a variety. The first time we pulled it back as a committee, a task force, because we felt it didn't meet the mark that we really were hoping for. The second time it came before the town was last March, when, for the reasons that you know, nothing was handled and things were delayed. So November 4th is the first time that this document will be voted on by the town, by secret ballot, in conjunction with the November 4th elections in the town. Our plan is to finish our edits, give the community an opportunity to provide inputs the last time on the 16th of August. Factor that in, make the edits, have the plan published and distributed in time so that people have a good opportunity to look at this before the November election, the November vote. I would also say that this plan is on the town website. If you go to harpswell.gov and you click on home, there's a section on the comprehensive plan which will show you, give you information about these meetings, as well as information or an indication of what we've changed and modified in the plan up to this point. So I would encourage you to look at that if you have an opportunity to do so. So with that, I'd like give you an opportunity to come up and ask if you folks have any questions or issues that you think we need to be aware of as we kind of go into the final stages of putting this together.
So, in your proposed
Just mind identifying yourself.
Beth Pelkey,
Okay.
and on your affordable housing, out of curiosity, is Mitchell Field still part of that plan and Dowdy Point?
Dowdy Point is no. Mitchell Field, we have the chair of the Mitchell Field Committee here. I don't know, Don, if you want to address this, but the housing, the initial input in terms of affordable housing in Mitchell Field was based on the initial Mitchell Field master plan, which had an area near Route 123 carved out as a potential area for affordable housing. That remains in the current master plan as I would say, a possibility, a potential area, but it's not ironclad, if you will, sewn into the master plan as I understand it.
But are you considering the fact that there's contaminated soil and you're going to put wells in there?
So
Children playing in there?
in our plan, we've eliminated Mitchell Field and Dowdy Point as areas for affordable housing.
For sure.
In our plan.
Okay. And that's going to be specified when it comes to a vote?
It's not in it.
It's
We're
done.
taking it out.
It's not in there, but it is in the affordable housing report.
So it still exists,
Yeah.
so it doesn't change anything. And if you did Dowdy Point, are you going to pave the road? The road dues there are $8.50 a year.
Let me just say this. The purpose of our
Use the mic, Al.
Thank you. The purpose of the comprehensive plan is to make suggestions, recommendations.
And I understand that.
It's not a prescriptive document or something that is legally binding. So we didn't want to be put in a position where you're saying this is something that has to happen and we're going to fall on our sword to make it happen. We eliminated Dowdy Point and Mitchell Field from the plan for a variety of reasons. And to the extent that Mitchell Field suggests that maybe housing could go in there is something that I would defer to the Mitchell Field Committee, not the master plan.
But it still exists.
It still
From what you're
exists.
saying,
It still exists.
It's still on this.
No, it's not.
Can you let Don, can you bring Don up really fast to explain the Mitchell Field component?
This is Don. I'll let him introduce himself, but
I am right. They're just hiding things.
Good evening, my name is Barbara Nicholas. I live in West Harpswell off of Route 123. I do want to follow up on what was just said. Yes, it is true, and thank you so much for revising the comp plan to take out the land use section and the short-term housing sections. However, we also incorporate by reference the August 8th, 2024 Affordable Housing Working Group report, and that report clearly has in it a lot of stuff that you took out of the other plan. Therefore, it's still part of the plan. If you look at pages 11, 14, 15, 17, those refer to revisions of the land use ordinance. They have been deleted in the comp plan, but they're still there. Also, if you look on page 16, it talks about short-term rentals. But to me, and obviously to Beth, what I see on page 17 is a clear reference to Downey Point Road, a clear reference to Mitchell Field. So don't say they're not in there, because they're in there, they're incorporated by reference. And why was the Affordable Housing August 2024 report not amended to be consistent? I'd like to know that. And I think it needs to be amended to be consistent. I have a lot of other comments on different parts of that, but I will let somebody
Can I
else.
ask you a clarifying question?
Sure.
Consistent,
You can't give the mic.
Sorry, I just want to clarify, consistent with with what is in the comp plan?
Correct.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not consistent with the comp plan, therefore, it's very unclear. Therefore, it's still all in there. It needs to be amended.
Okay.
Or
Thank you for
delete it. Perhaps that would be the easiest way to go forward. But now, it's time for you. And I'll speak again.
Don Miskill, Mitchell Field Chair. The original master plan for Mitchell Field in 2007 had a very extensive housing piece in it. When the master plan was updated in, I think it's 2018, that was reduced to a single paragraph. We are going to begin doing an update to the master plan again, and I think we're going to move away from that because, and it's in the comprehensive plan, that support for the land use ordinance, and if you go to Appendix 21 in the land use ordinance, it says that Mitchell Field should be retained as open space. So that's been where the committee has been moving towards, but I won't speak until we begin working on the master plan. But for right now, we have not entertained large solar plans at Mitchell Field. When people say, well, it's only 20 acres and the field's 119, yes, but 20 acres is the entire upper meadow, including helping out the community garden. So when you start looking at those kinds of things, you're talking about taking over a large portion of the field, and we are reevaluating the hazardous material issue, including PFAs.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me say something about this business about being contained in the plan by reference. We had a fair amount of discussion as a task force about the Affordable Housing Working Group report, which was accepted by the select board, I think, last summer, roughly. The fact that it was accepted by the select board, in my opinion, made it something that we needed to look at seriously and consider when dealing with housing. I mentioned before that the Affordable Housing Working Group report and now the Housing Committee has made a number of different recommendations relative to housing in the town, which have nothing to do with Mitchell Field or Dowdy Point. Specifically, they are converting large buildings, large houses into smaller units, house splitting, they call it. Another methodology was to, ease the requirements relative to additional development units or ADUs on properties to allow folks that have room in their property to build a smaller unit or something attached to their house and rent out the other part of the house or property. The third thing that was proposed was to partner with organizations that specialize in pairing up rental housing that's available with people that are seeking rental units. In this case, I think the organization's Nesterly. And so there were three recommendations that were made. The fourth recommendation was to look at the possibility of putting smaller houses on smaller lots under certain conditions, specifically. Water needs to be available, sewage needs to be possible, and the development, if you will, needs to have as a goal the preservation of open space as part of the development. In my opinion, having been chair of the planning board for a number of years before I left about a little over a year ago, most of what you see in developments in the town of Harpswell are what I would call kind of cookie cutter developments where you take a large piece of land, they divide it up into lots. In the case of a subdivision, it's 2-acre lots minimum, and they just put boom, 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 and put a street in the middle of it, a turnaround, and there you have your development. There are ways that you can develop property that are much more creative, if you will, than that, which will preserve the rural character and open space that people here in the town think are valuable. It's possible to do. And so, from that standpoint, I think we need to at least look at the option of doing that. Now, the current chair of the planning board, Amy Heibel, knows this better than anybody, that if you want to change an ordinance or you want to get something approved in the town in terms of a subdivision or anything like that, it has to go through the planning board. And that is a very rigorous process, and it's subject to the ordinances that we have in the town. The fact that we say, let's take a look at it as a possibility, or the Affordable Housing Working Group says, let's take a look at it as a possibility in this particular area, does not necessarily mean it's going to happen. There's a mechanism in place already in the town that this would have to go through. And if you wanted to change the ordinances to make it more stringent as a town, you have the opportunity to do that by vote. So when I look at what we're trying to do here in the plan, we're making some possible suggestions. Here's some possible things that we ought to look at moving forward. Whether any of them come to fruition is another matter. So I know that there's a difference of opinion in terms of a report by reference, but in my mind, if the select board of the town has unanimously accepted this as a valid standing report, we at least, as a task force, have to look at it seriously.
If you're interested in suggesting as opposed to prescribing, then why don't we edit page 11? And instead of saying revise, 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 why don't we say consider revising, consider revising, consider revising?
That's exactly what we've done.
No, you haven't. I have the report right in front of me. And this is not consistent with what we've seen in the comp plan. And I'm more than happy to help you do the edits. I have a lot of experience doing this.
Where did you get that report?
Where did this report come from?
Was it online? Did you look at the online report?
This is your August 8th, 2024 report. Oh, there's a new one now?
Yeah.
Oh, where is it?
It's online.
You know, I went to the town office and I asked for everything that was new and I did not get this. So how come it's not back there?
Well, first of all,
Are you talking about the housing?
I'm talking about the Housing for Harpswell Affordable Housing Working Group report.
That hasn't been changed.
Has this been changed?
No.
Is this different?
We're not the housing.
It's the Affordable Housing Working Group's report.
We use that as an input that we consider in our.
Okay, this needs editing, or else you could say in the comp plan, maybe that needs editing that says, you might want to take a look at this report as opposed to incorporating it by reference. But, you know, I'm happy to cede the floor to anybody else if I have a bunch of other questions. Yeah.
I think it's important if you have these kind of issues to identify what committee in the town handles them.
Okay.
It's not us. And somehow that's not getting across. I'm not quite sure why.
Okay, so you're the comp plan, right?
Yeah.
And why didn't you make an edit and not incorporate this by reference, this little attainable housing thing? Why didn't you do that? Because it's internally inconsistent with the changes you made in the comp plan.
I think I would suggest, have you been to housing committee meetings?
No,
Okay.
maybe I went to one.
Okay, I'm not that I wish ill will on the housing committee, but I think you need to go there and ask them that question.
Okay,
It's a good one. I
Alright.
think that those are the people you need to go to.
okay. Well, I appreciate that. I definitely do. Today, just walking in, I saw a July 22nd, 2025 new definition relating to the housing committee. So clearly, housing is coming up here. And I would like somebody to explain to me the difference between this and is this superseding the vague definition that was in the August 2024 report?
Are you talking about the definition for attainable housing?
I am. And if this isn't, I get that you may not be the committee, but you put it back there.
Do you want to, Bob? I don't want to.
No, I'd like to ask a question.
Okay.
If I could. Donna Mazzoli, Chair. My question is, any changes to housing, or if we're going to put housing in Mitchell Field, or we're going to put housing on Downey Point, doesn't that have to go to town meeting first? So I don't see why this has anything to do with the comprehensive plan, since it all has to go to town meeting, and you'll have every opportunity to vote yes or no. And I'd just like to talk about the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
It needs to be made clear.
It is clear, but you can vote on it later.
And sir, identify yourself and prepare to be machete here.
I've been on the Affordable Housing Committee and currently on the Housing Committee, and we have worked diligently. I appreciate people that are reading the documents. Thank you. I know there's confusion, but even that being said, reading them is beneficial. Thank you.
Love that, Mike. Love it.
Thank you. So it's you know, we're not necessarily in the fourth quarter, but let's get it as right as we can. The housing group and the affordable housing group, the affordable housing group recommendation has been approved by the select board. We have not gone back to edit that or modify that. We're accepting that, and it is in reference in the comp plan. That said, there's been, since then, the housing committee and the comp plan have met, and we've made multiple edits to bring this down so that it is more in line with what we're hearing from the community. And I think your comments are very right, and we've tried to abate that so that it is more manageable. But everything about the housing working group and housing committee has been for it to go to planning board, for it to go to select board, or all these things. So we're just making suggestions to help the town for the next 10 to 15 years consider all the ramifications. Yes, Dowdy Point and Mitchell Field is in there, but the likelihood of that happening is, I'll be dead.
But that's not what we want.
But I mean, I get it, but let's be open. We don't know, but be involved. That's your key position, be involved. Thank you. Any other?
Pull the plug on us. The housing committee, Al is right, the housing report dominated the comp plan discussion. It took hours and hours and hours away from us talking about even groundwater protection, environmental protection, even fishing, and a number of other things. That just is the way it happened. It's not anybody's fault, it's just the way it happened. The housing committee did try, I think once the first town meeting came and there were so many people that attended that meeting, I think the housing committee realized that some of the things that were in their report may possibly jeopardize the passage of the comp plan. And so they made some changes within the comp plan to the language. However, this is my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for the task force in any way. If the housing committee wants its recommendations to be incorporated by reference or anything else, it should, in my opinion, bring their recommendations before town meeting, because they're really significant zoning ordinance changes that are proposed. And it's kind of riding the coattails of the comp plan, and I'm concerned that it might carry more weight than it should. That's my opinion. And as regards to Al's comments about subdivisions needing to really go through a lot of review, yes, they do. But the state just passed legislation, LD 1829, that 3 lots created made a subdivision. Now it's 5 lots. So it's almost double the number of lots that can be created without going through subdivision review. In fact, LD 29 prohibits planning boards from reviewing subdivisions or lot divisions of 5 or less. So just think about that. Things are changing. Things are really changing.
So do you understand with your comprehensive plan, the thing that's holding you back are those 2 pieces of property? And you're hiding them underneath the carpet so people don't see that they're still in there. They still exist. If you took them out, you may get your votes. That's all I have to say.
Sir.
Okay, you're taking a lot of heat up here, and I recognize that. I think what Amy, I'm Spike Heibel. By way of full disclosure, I'm married to that person over there, who's done a lot of work on this stuff over the many years that I've known her. She knows planning and subdivision laws and all that stuff pretty darn well. Yeah, I just briefly agree that you really should just take the affordable housing working group thing and attach it to the comprehensive plan. Don't say it's by reference, just say, please see the appendix. And that when somebody picks it up or they look at it online, they go, oh, there it is. But instead you make them dig around, and I think that's really a bit of an affront, personally. But, so that's an easy change to make. Take that by reference out and say, please see appendix A. And it'll be pretty considerable, but people can take it and read it right there. But going to the larger question of your vision elements, what really bothers me, and I went to a lot of the early meetings, especially the one at Cundy's Harbor where you filled out, you work on those large kind of graphic descriptions of where you live and what your problems are, and what do you think is the most difficult thing about it, and what do you like the best, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other meetings I've been to as well. What I find troubling about the housing, and I'm sorry to stick back to the housing, but the more development we have in Harpswell, without really thinking through what it's going to do, the worse Harpswell is going to become, and none of these visions will be any good. And the one I stick to in particular being a person, we live at the intersection of Mountain Road and 123, which is the busiest intersection in the town of Harpswell. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. There's more and more people. And not that you can stop people from selling land and, you know, moving to town and building a house and all that stuff, but if we're gonna have a comprehensive plan about it, let's think about what do those things do to traffic? I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't look at the traffic pattern on 123. 24 is maybe a little different, but maybe at Cuddy's Harbor Road, it's busy. And that's just not just because people buy more cars. There's more people, and there's more people living in houses all over town. And we can't stop that, but if we're gonna have a comprehensive plan, it needs to think about that. If we're gonna think about water, let's think about traffic too. So I think a lot of these visions that you have, the first vision of, you know, strengthening our tradition, trying to preserve the things that we really love about Harpswell. We're eating Harpswell alive. I've lived in this town for 50 years, and I can't tell you the changes that have been. People have lived here their whole lives. It's considerable. So when we talk about every 10 years, we're going to do all these different things. Let's talk about traffic. Let's really talk about water. I don't care how many trillions of gallons that you've got. Somebody's got to put together a program and really figure out where it is and where it's appropriate to build and where it's not appropriate to build. So I think there's a lot of problems in the plan. I get the reason for the comprehensive plan. I want to support it. Put the housing plan in as an appendix.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I did want to make some comment regarding the population in town. Actually, we have less people living in town than we did in 2019. We're selling homes, and I understand that. We're building larger homes, which take up more, and make you have more impermeable surface on property. I think what we're seeing is we now have 5,023 people as of last year in the year-round population. It was 5,200 3 years before. I think we might be confusing the amount of perhaps people coming for weekends and so forth as far as traffic. And when you're talking about water supply, if you have less people living in town, are we using a ton more water than we used to? So while we like these numbers, and I use numbers to prove a point here, I think it's just part of the situation when you're trying to determine how you can meet the needs of various parts of town. One where housing was very important, and another part of town where water is very important. And we have another part of town where the properties are much larger, and you have a different vision than me on Bailey Island of rural character. I think part of the thing with the comp plan is it allows you to find out from the total population what's important, and the thing that we're really talking about is how to sit down and keep all these things on the top of the list and then get a committee or whoever together after it's passed to work on how to do it without sacrificing the other areas. Thank you.
Gail Prince, water situation. There's plenty of water, I know, but I don't know anybody that will turn their tap on and drink it straight. Everybody has filtration. The water straight up is nasty. It's rusty, it's dirty, it's nasty. So as far as good, clean water, Harpswell does not have it. So you can't count that as good water. I'm sorry, I don't care. That is not a definition. Mitchell Field, how many times does it have to be voted down? It's been voted down. We don't want you touching it. It is a family place to go. We don't want houses there. It's been voted down. We wanted a place that families can go. We can have things going down there for residents, if they want to have things doing down there as groups. We don't want houses down there. I don't know how many times you guys have to hear that. You know, why?
It's not in the comp plan that we're having house.
No, you've got it hidden somewhere so you can sneak it in the back
All
door.
right, we've heard that.
I know, and you gotta keep hearing it because you're all politics. And we know politics. And that's just how it works. When you finally get it all done and final, and somebody says, well, you gotta have it somewhere, it's gonna be there. If you're not gonna put it there, then just say, and it will not be at Mitchell Field. Why will you not put that there? So that people can say, good, Mitchell Field is safe. Why not? Then we don't have to have this discussion. And we don't have to have people getting up here going, why is it not safe? Why do we not have the ability to have it so that the fishermen can put their traps down there? Or have a place to haul out if they need it? I thought that's what eventually it was gonna do, but maybe not. It's supposed to be for the town people, but who am I?
Hi, I'm Margaret McIntyre, the Harpswell Town Planner, and I just want to clarify for everybody, housing is in the Mitchell Field Master Plan currently. So if you have a problem with housing in the Mitchell Field District, it needs to go, an argument needs to be made with the Mitchell Field Committee. And I believe that they have gotten survey results saying that they don't want housing, that the town does not want housing there. However, they are working on updating their master plan. It has not been done yet. There is housing in the Mitchell Field Master Plan. It's a problem for the Mitchell Field Committee.
Will it be done before the vote?
You'd have to ask the Mitchell Field Committee. But it's referenced in the Mitchell Field Master Plan, which is also referenced in the comp plan.
Just for clarification.
So, yeah, so why are we even here? Yeah.
Now,
Well, that's an interesting one. Hold on.
Sneaky bit.
So, I like the question of why are we here? So I've owned a very small house off Ingham Point Road since 2004, and it was a rental property for much of that time, and I would from time to time come and live there with my son. I lived there now year-round, moved there in the fall of 2020. And I know that I'm here because I've got the one that was published. I just made the crossouts in it based on what you set out for us. It, for me, is the best vehicle I've had so far to get to know the town that I live in, rather than piecing that information together on my own, making my own assessments by going to various, and I started out, I thought it was going to fall to me to just go to town meetings and learn what I could. But I really understand that this is a document that is about recommendations. Recommendations. Carefully thought out, discussed, heartfelt considerations about all of these domains, and very specific recommendations made. So you're making them to me, and you're making them to everybody that lives here. And we've made them to you, and then you chewed on them and worked on them and thought about them and applied research from geologists and whomever else at the state to come up with something that is really a tremendous opportunity for us to get to know where we live. And then, if there's a particular working group or committee or department that has our attention, what is most important to us. For me, for instance, storm damage of docks seems to me to be incredibly important here. Then we can narrow our focus and go and learn more about that, speak to those specific people. But sort of the encyclopedia of the town is something that is why I'm here, because all of the things that are about my day-to-day life are represented in that document. Thanks.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. There is an entire chapter on transportation in part 2 of the plan that includes data from Maine Department of Transportation, other things in terms of automobile volume in various parts of the town and so on. It's interesting that there's no way that a plan of this nature can keep up with the changes that are occurring at a faster rate than this plan has been developed. I mean, it's almost as if we put something down on a piece of paper regarding data, a month from now, that may not be valid. So we're constantly chasing the rabbit, if you will, try to get the best we can. But there is a lot of data that's on there in transportation. Interestingly enough, when you look at the data, the conclusion is that there's not, in terms of what we've seen over the past several years, not a lot of volume change that's occurred in the town. Now, I've been driving around here in the last couple of months, and I noticed there's a lot of cars on the road. It's summer. Who knows whether that's summer traffic or more traffic now at Cook's Corner. People coming down from Cook's Corner on Route 24, where I live off of, the traffic has increased significantly. It's not something that the town is generating. It's coming from external to the town, as far as I can see. They want to go down to Land's End, they want to go down to the beach, and so on and so forth. So it's hard from that standpoint to come up with some recommendations in terms of what we should do here in the town, other than putting a blocking Route 24 and 123 and saying, if you're not a resident here, don't come in. I'm not saying that facetious. I'm saying we're trying to put something together that captures the best we can what we have been told from experts, data that we've drawn in, and oh, by the way, they're commenting about politicians, fishermen, retiree. She works in vacation rentals. Retiree. You retired now? Retiree, and she's retired, but now is there's no politician here in this board that I know of. So we're not looking at it from the standpoint of politics. We're trying to come up with some solutions, recommendations that try to address what we've heard the community tell us in numerous meetings over the last 3 or 4 years. May not be a meeting that you attended or that you said something in, but we've been all over the town, and we've heard an awful lot of people say, here is my main concern. It may not be your main concern, but here's my main concern. And so we're trying to filter that the best we can and address that in a way that makes sense. Sir.
Nick Martinez, Oars Island. I'll leave the house alone. But I'm curious. We haven't had a water study now, by your own words, in 8 to 10 or 12 years. When are we going to have that water study?
The comprehensive plan recommends that the town conduct a water study as soon as possible.
Okay.
I can't tell you the date.
In all good conscience, how can we move forward with trying to put in more housing till we have that water study and we actually understand what is going on the islands or on this peninsula?
Maybe I can respond to that a bit. what we have found with our studies so far is that the normal study that you could do if you lived in Brunswick does not work in Harpswell. The only other study, the next study that we're going to have is really getting information from residents where their well is, how deep it is, how many gallons per minute, which would be a volunteer program that we would have to work with the town. That being said, the fact that we know that knowing there's a lot of wells here, there, and everywhere, or not, because of the way the fractures work, while it tells you some things, it doesn't give you the same sense of security of knowing where you have water.
My point exactly. You haven't done that now for X amount of years. So until you do that, make that step. Wells aside, till you do a study to get an idea of where the water is, where the water is not, how it flows, how can you in good conscience try to develop more?
Well, I won't go any further on that
Okay.
because, just because we're thinking in two different directions.
Okay.
But I can tell you that the plan is going to suggest that we have a study. The Conservation Commission is going to begin that study through what I just mentioned, probably within the next 6 months. So we're moving ahead to get the information as this process is going forward. That's the most I can tell you from the Conservation Commission and the costs involved and so forth.
As an aside on the traffic, I think that boat ramp isn't going to help 123 anyway.
Can we ask you to just speak to what the timeline, when the Mitchell Field Committee is discussing their changes? I think maybe that would answer some people's questions or give them some idea what to expect for a timeline.
Gee, after the last comment, I'm not sure. We're about to build a boat ramp. We don't know what the impact will be at the waterfront. That's why we haven't done the master plan changes yet. So we want to get the boat launch built. What can I say, Christie? Here's where we are. The final design, engineering designs have been reviewed by MDOT and Mark Ironman, our project overseer. They were returned to GEI. They got them back. We're going to see them.
You're talking about the boat launch.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to see them on Thursday at select board meeting. If they approve, then we're going to go out for an RFP and we will have a contractor. They can begin their on-land work immediately. They can't get in the water until November to do the in-water work. And we hope to have a boat launch by next spring. That will be our first time that we can evaluate what the impacts are going to be on traffic at the waterfront, how it all integrates. We've attempted to develop an alternate traffic pattern separate from the beachgoers, and I'm happy to provide that information to anybody that wants it, see me after. Once we have those things, then we can figure out what we're going to do to make changes and to build a master plan. A master plan change that reflects what's going to move forward from there.
Okay, so that is looking like 6 months to a year minimum to start.
We're going to start working on,
Answer your question.
right, we're going to start working on the master plan as soon as we have a contract signed
Okay.
on the boat launch. We've been working on this launch for like 14 years through thick and thin, and we're almost there. We just don't want to waver again.
Hello, I'm Christy Aon, the town administrator. So I want to follow up on the question that Heather Allen asked. When will the town consider amending the master plan for Mitchell Field? That does have to go to a town meeting vote.
John Miskell, who's the chair, talked about there being a process. I don't think we have a timeline at this point. Perhaps it can be accelerated because there's so much interest in possibly amending that aspect of the plan and removing it. But there are other aspects in the Mitchellfield plan that need to be considered. As Al suggests, time changes, priorities change. The boat launch at Mitchellfield is a current priority, so that's going to happen. These things take time. We have volunteer committees. I think what I'm hearing tonight from people who are here is a great concern about the housing piece that's currently in the Mitchellfield master plan, that this comp plan group can't change the Mitchellfield master plan. You can change the wording in your comp plan about whether or not you recommend something or think it should be a priority. So that may address the concerns you're hearing tonight. But I don't think we have a specific timeline on when the master plan for Mitchellfield will change. But I think we're hearing a lot about people objecting to the housing aspect that's currently in it. Thank you.
All right. We, by this time, all have pretty thick skins. We've been through this numerous times. We will do the very best we can to consider what we've heard tonight and work it into the comprehensive plan wherever we can. As I said before, it's been a document that's been carefully considered. We're trying to get everybody in the town and understand their perspectives and their viewpoints. Not everybody's going to agree on everything. And so I hope the fact that people may disagree here in this meeting doesn't mean we're not seriously considering what's being said here. There is time to make modifications to the plan. And oh, by the way, some of the things that you talked about in the Affordable Housing Working Group, we changed the wording in our master plan to do exactly what you said. Consider revising. Okay. So we've been sensitive to things like that and try to make modifications to the comprehensive plan. We can't change the wording of what was in the Affordable Housing Working Group. That's a separate group that's put out a report. Nor can we change what the Mitchellfield master plan says. But we can certainly consider the recommendations that have been made in both documents in a way that makes sense for the town.
Great. I want to make my recommendations to change language, tweak it here and tweak it there. How do I do that?
I'm sorry?
How do I make my recommendations?
For you to tweak your language to change it.
Do you want me to, should I come to one of your meetings or?
Go to the mic. Use the mic.
Oh, sorry. So I have a number of suggestions that you can consider to change the comp plan. How do I communicate them to you?
Well, you can send me an email.
Okay, and how do I know that it will be discussed? I'd like to be able to defend my positions if you find them not to your liking.
Well, then my suggestion is that you come to the August 16th public hearing.
Trust me, it's on the calendar, but I would like to influence things before then. I've got some that I've got here, but I decided people did not need to hear from me anymore, so that's why I decided not to raise them, but there are a number of ideas that I have.
I'd be happy to take your comments and share it with the rest of the task force.
Okay.
And so that we can be prepared to address them, or even make changes if it's a straightforward thing that we can.
I think they're pretty straightforward.
Okay. I'll give you my email address.
Perfect.
Okay. And you should come out after the meeting and I'll write it down. You got it.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think it's important to try and look at this comprehensive plan as a general document recommending the future for the town. And for me, the most important page in the document is the vision statement, which we created in an effort to express what had been told us in lots of meetings and questionnaires, etc. So if you think those statements about a vision for the future of Harpswell are wrong, absolutely raise that with us. The details about how different policies are going to get implemented, you'll have a lot more opportunity to talk about. But it's not going to be implemented or even set as policy by this plan. This is a statement, a set of recommendations, rather than a set of laws.
Thank you. Any other comments before we break?
Thank you very much for your public service. It takes a tremendous amount of courage.
I'll echo that. I want to make a general statement for those people that spoke up here about how they get the word out. I'll speak to just the Mitchell Field Committee, but I'm sure all the other committees have their meetings published on the town calendar. You are welcome to attend any meeting that we hold. Our minutes are posted on the town website along with our agenda, and you can see minutes going all the way back. Our minutes are more than just, well, we had a discussion about this. We actually have some depth into them. Any handouts that we give at a meeting are listed and are available electronically. All you have to do is email us and we can get them right to you. So you're welcome to come and speak at any meeting. And I encourage you, if there are other committees, to find out when they meet, and you're part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you. One more.
Joe Goldman, Oars Island. I had a follow-up regarding the possible analysis of water. And I think it was about a year ago, it was a town meeting, and there was a geologist or a hydrologist there. And she said the problem was gathering data. And because it was voluntary, very few people were willing to permit data to be measured from their well. So I wondered, is there any plan, or is it even a feasibility, that, presuming that at a town meeting the members were devoted, that the town would would stipulate that every property had to be measured in some way. Therefore, you would have a real body of data. Otherwise, if you only get 10% of people volunteering, if that, what have we got? Thanks.
To answer your question, somewhat, the town did something like this about 25 years ago. It was at a time when a number of people, there was a lot of petrochemicals that were getting into wells, and the town made it voluntary that people could send in their name and get their water tested. And it was voluntary, but I think they got over 80%, what I've read. So we're thinking, and this, here again, this is premature to be talking specifically because there's funding and everything that's involved. But we're thinking how we might start that same type of volunteer program sooner rather than later. We might not have the full picture until closer to the vote in November, but it's something we're starting to work on. And everybody in Harpswell seems to want to know more about the water, and we're thinking that maybe we would get a very large supply. Thank you.
We have a couple of selectmen here too, but do we have a sense of which committee might be the one that, I mean, conservation might be the one that's most likely will pursue this water issue, and pursue the issue of having another study done. Because that has to go, we've said that might cost a couple $100,000. So that a proposal to do that has to go to the selectmen to agree or disagree to it, but does anybody have a sense of what committee might attend that? Conservation.
And we have to figure out what the cost would be. I'm
Yeah.
in the process of choosing one town,
Yeah.
and then we will have an idea of what to come back to.
So I just bring this up because, you know, if people have questions or comments regarding doing this study, that's the committee that you should go to and, you know, tell what you think. So.
That's a really good question, Brian. Normally, a study like that would be handled by a town department, and it would be the planning department that would handle something like that. I don't know if that will happen in Harpswell or not, but the budget would have to go before town meeting. And it's something that I think the voters maybe should contact your select board members and urge them to get that on the ball. One other thing with regard to traffic, and this is something from a study that was done a long time ago. The population in Maine may not be increasing all that much, or at least at the time the study was done, but the numbers of households were increasing. And so even though the population wasn't increasing, the number of automobiles on the road did increase because the number of households increased. It was just that each household was occupied by around 2 people, 2.3 people, instead of 4 or 5. So the population numbers went down or didn't go up as they didn't match the number of cars that were on the road. And I would suspect that's part of what's happening.
That's a good point. Harpswell's a car-dependent place. I mean, it takes a long time to get out of Harpswell to go to Brunswick, to go shopping, whatever. We all recognize that. So, you know, that's an important area to address for sure. Anything else before we close this chapter? August 16th, public hearing. And if there are no other questions, meeting adjourned.